Hi there. In this lecture we join Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces against the Nakamura. This is in 2013 Tatar Steel Group A, round 12. So we see, I would say, Magnus has a positional preventer in this game, preventing counterplay in general. We see a Sicilian defense, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes d4. This is Kalashnikov territory now with e5. Svechnikov territory will be knight f6 and then e5, prompting the knight c3 first for e5, and this is the Svechnikov territory, which is very popular recently, where white has, for example, here knight d5 or bishop takes. Kalashnikov is a relative. Some people say one of the poorer relatives, not as good as Svechnikov, but it does have some interesting aspects. We have d6 and now g3. This is a bit of a novel move. Maybe Nakamura was expecting knight 1 to c3, one would expect. Well, this would be transposing into a Sicilian Svechnikov. There are other moves here, though. So g3 is interesting. Okay, because of the move order, in fact, we don't have to move knight to c3. When I was playing on the black side and was thinking I was playing a Svechnikov, but I was actually playing a Kalashnikov, I was surprised by moves like bishop c4. Yeah, this is like Kalashnikov, territory. This kind of move is possible, which could be dangerous sometimes because white hasn't committed to knight c3 yet. So anyway, g3 is an interesting move as well. We have h5. It seems like a logical reaction to try and undermine the pawn chain. If bishop e7, bishop g2, bishop e6, let's say black didn't want to play h5, we're going to get a good grip on the position after knight d5. Let's say, this would be a more normal looking game, but in fact black's quite passive here. White has a small edge. So anyway, h5 makes the game very interesting. Knight 1 to c3. h3 would also, it would just be like an even position. Knight 1 to c3, a6, knight a3, b5, knight d5, knight g to e7, bishop g2, and now bishop g4. This is provocative to provoke weaknesses, sure. Maybe, g6 is a total disaster. Knight f6 would be checkmate. h4, though, may have a good point to it. White could castle, knight takes, and let's say e takes, knight d4, c3, knight f5. It's an even position, in fact. So yeah, h4 does have some things going for it, but we have bishop g4. Now f3 for Magnus. Maybe this is actually a slight inaccuracy. To be fair for both sides and to point out inaccuracies, this might actually be an inaccuracy. It does have weaknesses to it. Queen d3 has got something going for it. Knight takes, e takes, and black does have a very tactical idea here indeed available. If knight e7 finds c4 and white has a small edge, but knight b4, queen e3, that would be good for white here, in fact. So say g6, we could play c3, and the resulting complications are in white's favour. The knight's kind of stranded here, and yeah, after the forcing moves, we do have a great position to play with. So we've got pressure on e5, and we can even crash her on the king side. Big advantage. So, in fact, yeah, knight takes d5 isn't so good, but b4, knight c4, knight takes here, and let's say h3. If e takes, knight d4, we castle, bishop e2 is nasty. So forget e takes, that would justify the bishop being on g4, but we play h3 here, and this is possible. Bishop d7, e takes d5, and this is going to be an okay position for white. So yeah, f3 might not have been strictly necessary, basically, in a nutshell. Queen d3, and whatever black does, it seems as though white should be able to get a small edge, but not as, which is actually better than f3 in a technical manner. It's better than f3. So we have bishop e6. Black has the wrong plan here with bishop e6, or rather, this isn't helping a knight takes d5 implementation if the bishop's a target on e6. If the bishop had gone to d7 instead, there'll be much greater support here for knight takes, e takes, and knight e7 to get rid of that nasty knight on d5, basically. Now, say c3 just to show that, knight takes and a knight e7. Black actually is doing okay, perfectly okay, in fact. So let's try and put a spanner in the works of bishop d7 and play bishop g5. f6, we drop the bishop back, knight takes, queen takes. Again, black should be fine here. There's some good tricks. We don't really want to take on d6. There's some good tricks for black there, like knight f5. We play the queen back, h4, g4, rook b8. It's an even position. Yeah, it does seem this is not helping when the bishop goes to e6. I'll say that's quite an important inaccuracy. We have c3, h4. These inaccuracies kind of accumulate quite viciously, like accumulation of advantages. So h4 here, if knight takes d5, we can see that we're winning material. This is the problem. Black can't play knight takes d5, which means that this knight's not ideal, this knight's ideal. So h4, we have knight c2. White's turn to not play totally optimally with knight c2. In fact, bishop e3 first would cut out knight a5 because we would have bishop b6. If rook b8, then knight c2, it's a good improvement to play it like this. It's a good improvement. But knight c2 was played immediately. And in fact, bishop takes d5 now was played. Knight a5 would celebrate the fact that the bishop's not on e3. And here, h takes, knight takes, bishop d7. Black is actually doing fine here. These weaknesses are kind of weaknesses. Even if it's Magnus Carlsen, they are actually dark square weaknesses. So yeah, knight a5 is a very interesting move here. If we try f4, knight takes, e takes, again, this is an even position. So anyway, bishop takes was played. We have e takes, knight a5. Different circumstances now. We have f4. And now knight f5 starts to make things actually worse for black. The king's still in the center. This is like active operations when the king's still in the center. So in principle, this might not be, in principle, such a good idea. If h takes, exchanging one pair of rooks off, this would be, it seems, a safer course of action. Knight g6, and here, white has an edge, but it's like a limited edge. It's a small edge. Bishop could go back, queens could come off, fine. It's about even, in fact. But what happens in the game is like active operations with the king still in the center. This knight f5. We have g4. Yeah, this forcing move is quite good. h3. Bishop e4. It's good square for the bishop. Knight h4. If queen h4 check, king f1. Knight e7. We can play rook g1 here, and this position we can play actually g5 is a pretty cool move. We don't have to take on f4 there. We could play g5, and here, for example, we've got a lot of pressure on the queen side. We've got a lot of great pieces here. Say b4, knight takes. This position, g takes, knight c6. We have a small edge at least. But knight h4 played, we have castling. If f5, black would get a bit of play with knight g2 check. We don't really want to take and open up the rook to h2. We play king f1, but queen h4. It's not that bad for black. White's got a small edge only. But castling is stronger. we have g6. So yeah, this is all with the king still in the center. If e takes f4, bishop takes f4, bishop e7, we can play b3, and we do actually have a nice advantage here in any case in this variation. Knight c4, knight d4, it's very pleasant. Yeah, things have gone wrong for black with the king in the center here. So g6, knight g2 is also, we can just play queen f3 here. Good advantage again for white. So g6, we have king h1, bishop g7. If f5, we drop back to d3, and here bishop e2, we can play b3. Yeah, we've got a dominating position here. Black's got a lot of targets to play with, to target. So bishop g7, f5, g takes, knight g2. If queen d7, let's say black wants to play queen d7 to castle queenside. This isn't a good idea because we play f6, bishop g5, and black's prevented actually from casting queenside. It's too little too late casting queenside because we take on h4 and then bishop f5 pins the queen to the king. That was just an illustration if black tries to castle queenside. So knight g2, we have f6. The king's just stranded in the center, and the escape squares have been taken out on e7 and f8 and d8 right now. So if bishop takes f6, we just play 5 points. Yeah, queen f3. What does black do with the bishop? King e7 we're taking. Bishop g7. Queen takes f7 is checkmate. So that's not too clever. Rook h4. Queen takes. Yeah, we're just winning that piece. But black has a big advantage there. So actually on rook h4, no, we don't take on f6 immediately on rook h4. We have a really cool move here instead. What do you think that is for 10 points? We've got x-ray pressure on f7. The rook's hitting our bishop. We actually play bishop g5 here. This would be the solution. So rook takes e4, bishop takes f6, rook f4, we take on d8. We've just won material basically. We're material up with the exchange up. We can cash out, simplify, absolutely winning. So bishop g5 would be a key move here. If rook f4, fine, we take that exchange. Rook g1, big advantage for white. So anyway, so basically it's out of the question. The bishop takes f6. So the bishop going back to f8. Queen f3, queen c7. Knight b4. Now, yeah, things have gone really bad here. And if black castles queenside, we've got great options like knight takes a6 here. Although that seems to be better than the game to actually castle queenside here. We've also got knight c6. It's just a huge position here. But black plays knight b7. We have knight c6, and the king's well and truly stranded now in the center with the knight stopping any idea of castling queenside. Knight c5, bishop f5, knight d7, and now bishop g5 reinforces f6. If bishop takes h3 is also decent. We don't have to do that though. So bishop g5. We have rook g8. If queen b7, we can take on h3 and queen g3. Bishop f5. And here, bishop e4 reinforces the c6 knight. And this is just a huge advantage for it as we open up the queen side. So rook g8. We have queen h5. Yeah, rook g8 had that weakness of the last move, neglecting h5. That is an opportunity worth doing, because we've got pressure now on f7 incoming with bishop e6. Bishop takes h3 was also, you know, it's decent for white here, but this is pushing for more with the king in the centre. Celebrate the king in the centre. So knight b6, bishop e6, not just protects d5, more pressure on f7. If we have another move, what would it be for 5 points? Yeah, we just interference move with f7, knight e7 for f7. So we have that as a big threat. We have rook takes g5 in desperation. If knight c4, let's show knight e7. Rook d8, queen takes f7. Checkmate. If rook d8, knight e7, rook d7, we take on f7. Queen e8, check. Funny enough, is possible. So here, f7, check. F takes g8, queening is absolutely crushing. We're taking on f8. Bishop takes d7. Black's not getting enough play here. We're towards the king very quickly, and we're going to end up checkmating. So, okay, rook takes g5 played. We have queen takes, f takes, and now d takes cuts all the escape squares off, and black resigned here. So you might think, well, what about taking the knight? Doesn't that give d8? Not really, because f7 with check is also cutting d8 with the queen. That's checkmate. So the game ended here. If bishop e7, we're taking, and then here rook f8 is checkmate. If knight d5, queen g6 check, the knight covers d8. So yeah, horrible. If d5, queen h5 check, and then taking on f7. So yes, d takes e6. Yeah, knight f4, f7 check. This is hopeless, of course, if the black queen has to give herself up. We're just smashing through, opening up the king, and this is going to be game over. So yeah, a very interesting game. Some small inaccuracies added up, and there were inaccuracies for both sides. It's actually a very human game. It's not as if Magnus Carlsen was playing super accurately. There were some emerging opportunities for black as well, with moves like f3. The bishop going back to e6, just to recap here, 1 or 2 points which stand out. It's interesting, this bishop back to e6. This was a good idea to create these weaknesses. If the bishop had gone to d7, that seems much more accurate here, just with this idea of knight takes on knight e7 without the bishop being a target on e6. Maybe it seems more passive, but it seems more correct in retrospect. It's easy to say these things in retrospect. And then later, Magnus's knight c2. There was bishop e3, which is more accurate here. So yeah, it seems as though with knight c2, knight a5 might have been an opportunity for black to get a very decent position. Black's actually absolutely fine here, it seems, as one example. But okay, but knight c2, we have bishop takes, so this is not helping black's position. So there's a few things which started to go wrong for black, and knight f5 started to make things severely worse. It's like active operations with the king in the center. But yeah, some positional damage has been done already, so it's fairly easy to be nudged downhill continually from this point on. Okay, but those tiny inaccuracies, yeah, they really do have a profound effect on the game later. Right, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this free sample lecture. It's from one of my courses. You can check out my courses at Kingscrusher.tv. So you'll get these coupon codes which will give you great discounts. I have over 50 courses now, been working on them for the last few years. All sorts of chess topics, chess skill topics like tactics, calculation, visualization, and you can see my previous bestsellers highlighted. So I do hope you check out this Kingscrusher TV page. It does help support the channel and encourage me to share with you more free samples. So comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. And if you really, if you want to know the specific course the lecture was about, please do leave a comment in the video, and that will prompt me for a pinned comment, etc., just to clarify for this particular video which course it was from. Okay, thanks very much.